There are a few moments in gaming that stand out to me. The first game I ever played, the first truly 3D game I ever played, and Halo was something else. A great story, great gameplay, great music, and of course, great graphics. I remember just looking down at the high-resolution grass saying to my friends, if this is what graphics are like now, imagine what they'll be like in 20 years. Halo was a cultural phenomenon, and it wasn't long until everyone recognized the Master Chief. But when all of us Halo fans think of this series, we also think of Cortana. Cortana is a state-of-the-art military AI that can be utilized in many capacities, but she wasn't always this way, at least I don't think so, because in today's video, I'm going to posit that this wasn't the original vision for Cortana, that the original vision may have actually been better, but why ultimately, despite all that, they had to retcon her. Now, I've never worked for Bungie or a 343, but just playing the first Halo game, if you pay attention, she is presented in a way that's very different from the other games. Let's go back to the beginning, how we met Cortana. The mighty Pillar of Autumn is heading towards a mysterious ring in space. Cortana and Captain Keyes talk and reveal that they're trying to escape from an enemy alien fleet, but are ultimately unsuccessful. The enemy fleet was so advanced that it discovered the Pillar of Autumn's trajectory and arrived at the location before the Pillar of Autumn even got there. It is clear, despite the tenacity of the crew, the humans are completely outmatched, but they do have one ace up their sleeve. You make your way to the bridge and talk with Captain Keyes and Cortana. Captain Keyes decides the crew must abandon ship. Now, let's watch what happens next.
I'm initiating Cold Protocol Article 2. We're abandoning the Autumn. That means you too, Cortana. Protocol is clear. Destruction or capture of a shipboard AI is absolutely unacceptable, and that means you're leaving ship.
Note that he calls her a shipboard AI.
Are you ready?
Look at the way she looks around her environment, like she's looking at her home for the very last time. And finally she says,
Your architecture isn't much different from the Autumn's.
She is clearly a shipboard AI, whatever that means. What I think it means is that for the entirety of her existence, she has been an AI for the Pillar of Autumn. That her job is her purpose, what her existence and tactics are all based around. And now, to clear things up going forward, for the time being, I'm going to be ignoring the other games and lore until they become relevant, and present this theory as if Halo Combat Evolved was the only game we have information to draw from, up until the point in which they had to retcon her. Basically, just imagine we're looking at an alternate timeline. Not that one. So with that all in mind, this puts us in a very interesting narrative scenario, because now she is really being thrown out of her comfort zone, that is, if AIs even have those. Now she must adapt to changing circumstances and learn to work with the Master Chief, something she does very quickly. In this version of the Halo universe, I imagine AIs would have been very common, because if Cortana wasn't designed for the Master Chief, and he has the capacity to integrate with an AI, then it would be safe to assume that there was an AI out there somewhere that was tailor-made for him, which presents a problem because if they had just made Halo a one-off game with no sequels, then they could leave everything alone and make no changes. But as a trilogy, the problem arises when Master Chief arrives at Earth. If there is an AI out there for him, at some point he'd be presented with it, and the logical choice would be to pick it. And you could have it as part of the story, the struggle to pick between Cortana and the new AI, and that would be an interesting story. But ultimately, his choice would be clear. Humanity is about to be wiped out, there's no time for emotion. You need to make the most logical choice, which would mean saying goodbye to Cortana and introducing a new character that we'd have to get used to, which wouldn't make any sense at all, because we've grown to love Cortana, and she has proven herself to be more than capable. Why do we even need an AI that could only be slightly better at best? A way to circumvent this would be that perhaps the new AI was on one of the space stations that exploded and now you're stuck with Cortana. Or perhaps it was on Reach when the planet exploded, in which case, that's all backstory now, it would need to be explained through exposition. So this is where we get into retcon territory, because as well as Cortana being the shipboard AI story works for Halo Combat Evolved, following the threads I just presented would really start to bog down the story for Halo 2 and 3, with a whole subplot that would be there just to explain why we get to keep Cortana. And if that wasn't enough, the team at Bungie had a very limited time to make Halo 2. There wouldn't have been time time to explore a narrative thread that took away from the direction and pacing of their story. So now it is clear they have to do something to solve this problem. To make things work, we first need to keep Cortana, and for that to happen, she either needs to be our tailor-made AI, or she has to be a state-of-the-art super AI, and there must be none equal or better. And they kind of did both.
They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that?
Here because you were chosen. Our enemies are getting smarter and more numerous every day. What I am about to show you will help turn the tide of war. I have been working to harness the strategic power of a shipborne AI onto the battlefield. Are you ready?
Yes, Dr. Halsey.
Unlike previous AI models, she will reside between your mind and the suit, directly communicating with your neural interface.
And it was the decision that needed to be made, so they retconned her. I think this presents us with a great way to deal with the story changes as they are necessary. Because making a game isn't just about the story, it's about many different areas: game design, level design, sound design, art, and much more. All of these are interwoven, and if the story just doesn't fit, it needs to be changed. So the key takeaway to consider, if you are making a game with a strong narrative, is to perhaps learn to be willing to make changes when necessary. And for me, that's been a hard lesson to learn, but it's worth it. So what do you think? Am I right about Cortana's original vision? If I was, is that a more intriguing story? Or am I looking too deeply into things? Let me know. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.